Who are the people of the transatlantic slave trade? Or why are the descendants of the transatlantic slave trade in the same conditions anywhere in the world? To answer that question, we must remove the nationality barrier, i.e., Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, St. Kitts, Barbados, Haiti, the US, and all the countries their ancestors were taken to. No matter what country these people live in, they are still the descendants of the transatlantic slave trade. With that being said, I would like to pose a question. Why can't anyone tell the descendants of the transatlantic slave trade who they were and what was their culture like before the 15 and 1600s? All of Europe, Asia, and Africa have written and oral cultures before the 15 and 1600s. The slave ancestors were not randomly taken from all over Africa. They were taken from one specific place, the slave coast of Negro land. So my next statement is going to be very bold, and that is, all of modern day history is hung on one lie: the true identity of the people of the transatlantic slave trade. Let's begin presenting some evidence. For years we've heard the name Negro and nigger or nigga, and we associate it with something evil or wicked. I'm going to show you where it originated and why it was used to identify the people of the transatlantic slave trade. Take a look at this map of 1729. The pink highlighted area is called Negro land, and the green circle is the Niger River that stretches the length of Negro land. The word Negro and Niger or nigger was simply what the land was called during a particular time, i.e. the time of the slave trade. This information will be a shocker to many people who have never seen it. If you are a descendant of the transatlantic slave trade, you can hold your head up high knowing that these terms are not as offensive as you were told. Here's the map again, but slightly different. This map is by Bowen E. of 1747. This is the map, but at a close-up. Take a look at what it says. It reads, Kingdom of Judah, Oweda, Slave Coast. Do you see anything significant in the words Kingdom of Judah? Take a look at this map again. This map shows that the slaves were not randomly taken from all over Africa, but they were taken from isolated places. Let's set this aside for now and move on to some more evidence. The Zondervan Bible Dictionary has something very interesting to say about the people of the transatlantic slave trade. Take a look at the definition for Ham. It reads, Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of the 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the negroes, but the Egyptians, the Ethiopians, the Libyans, and the Canaanites. I'm going to read it again so it can sink in. It reads, Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of the 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the negroes, but the Egyptians, the Ethiopians, the Libyans, and the Canaanites. I scratched my head when I first read this, and then I said, I have some questions with what I just read. The first question is, how do you know that the Negro, or the people of the transatlantic slave trade, is not the same as all the other dark races on the earth? And 2, why have you been calling me African if the Negro has a different origin? What I've discovered is that there's a secret about the Negro that has been hidden in plain sight. Now, when I found out some of these things that I'm sharing with you, it brought me to tears. But that's for another topic. Now let's move on. According to the story of Noah, he had 3 sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth. They were the only ones left after God flooded the earth. We are told by historians, theologians, and everyone in between that these three men repopulated the whole earth. And all the black or dark-skinned people came from Ham. The white or European came from Japhet, and the Israelites came from Shem. Well, if that is the case, why did the Zondervan Bible Dictionary just say that the Negro did not come from Ham, the father or progenitor of the dark races? Now that we know Ham was dark, and the people of the transatlantic slave trade is dark, then that leaves the two other sons of Noah, Shem and Japhet. Now if Ham is dark, and the people of the transatlantic slave trade is dark, that would mean Shem or Japhet would have to be the progenitor of the Negroes, right? Houston, we have a problem. Because if the Europeans came from Japhet and the Israelites came from Shem, then the Negroes would have to be related to the Israelites or the Europeans, correct? Think about what I just said. Pause the video if you have to, because this is very important. I'm going to move on to my next point. According to the Hebrew language and the Bible, the word Yah, Y-A-H, or Jah, J-A-H, is how you pronounce the God of the Bible. The online definition is defined as Jah or Yah, Hebrew, Yah, is a short form of Yahweh. In consonantal spelling, YHWH, Hebrew, called the Tetragrammaton, the proper name of God in Hebrew in the Hebrew Bible. The short form for the name occurs 50 times in the text of the Hebrew Bible. It is otherwise mostly limited to the phrase Hallelujah and the theophoric names such as Elijah. In the King James Version 1611, there is only a single instance of Jah capitalized in Psalm 68:4. So according to this definition, Yah is the same as Jah, correct? Well, how could that be? Well, let me show you. Take a look at this chart. It shows the modern and ancient Hebrew, Greek and Latin. Take a look at the line with the red arrow. Starting from the right, the name is Yah. Starting from the left to right, the name is Yad. The picture is an arm and closed hand. The meaning is work, throw, worship. The sound is Yi. Modern Hebrew, the name is Yud, and the sound is Y. Ancient Greek, it is an I, and modern Greek, it is an I. Latin, it is an I or a J. So what did we just learn? The letter Y was changed to I or J. So then we would have to firmly stick to Y, the Hebrew version, because it is older, correct? With that being said, the names in the Bible like Elijah should be Elia or Elia. Jeremiah should be Jeremiah. Obadiah should be Obadiah, and Zephaniah should be Zephaniah, and so on. By now you should be asking, what does this have to do with the people of the transatlantic slave trade? Well, there's an online database that has records of some of the slaves who landed in their captivity in Freetown, Virginia. And I found something very eye-opening about the names of the slaves in the database. There's about 9 pages and 20 rows per page worth of names, both male and female, with YAH all together, not separated. Yah. Just like the online definition told us, Yah is Hebrew. Don't take my word for it. Pause this video and go to slavevoyages.org. That's SLAVEVOYAGES.org. At the very top of the page, scroll over resources and click on African Name Database. Then type Yah, Y-A-H, in the search box. Why is this so significant? For 3 reasons. 1. The slave coast was called Kingdom of Judah. The Negro did not come from Ham, the father of the dark races. 2. The Negro did not come from Shem, the father of the Israelites. 3. The Negro did not come from Japhet, the father of the Israelites. 4. The Negro did not come from Shem, the father of the Negroes. 5. The Negro did not come from Shem, the father of the Israelites. 6. The Negro did not come from Japhet, the father of the Negroes. 7. The Negro did not come from Shem, the father of the Israelites. 8. The Negro did not come from Shem, the father of the Negroes. 9. The Negro did not come from Japhet, the father of the Israelites. 10. The Negro did not come from Shem, the father of the Negroes. 11. The Negro did not come from Shem, the father of the Israelites. 12. The Negro did not come from Shem, the father of the Negroes. 13. The Negro did not come from Shem, the father of the Israelites. 14. The Negro did not come from Shem, the father of the Negroes. 15. The Negro did not come from Shem, the father of the Israeli The African database tells us that the slaves had Hebrew names. No wonder it was so important for the slaves to change their names. By now you should be getting the picture. For my next point, I would like to show you the slave routes and locations that the slaves were collected and dropped off. This is very important to understand because as I add layers to my research, you need to have a good visual. Look at the map. We see that the slaves were taken from isolated locations in Africa. Some of the stories told about the transatlantic slave trade was that random Africans were taken into slavery. But according to the Zondervan Bible Dictionary, Africa would have to have two groups of dark race people, correct? If you keep that in mind, you would then begin to realize that the negroes are one race of people and not random Africans like we were told. Yes, you heard me correct. The negroes are one race of people. So the Jamaicans, the Trinidadians, the people from Belize, the Haitians, the Americans, and all the slaves that were scattered into all the world are one people. Now, put your emotions aside, lace your shoes or boots up, and let's keep moving forward. Now that you have the historical data, I want to take you in a different direction. I want to point out something else that had me scratching my head. Remember the question I asked earlier. Why can anyone tell the people of the transatlantic slave trade anything about themselves before slavery? Well, here's my answer. Take a look at Deuteronomy chapter 28 in the Bible. According to this chapter, the God of the Bible told the people that if they obeyed him, he would bless them, and if they disobeyed him, he would curse them. Let's read verse 64. It reads, "The Lord will scatter you among all nations, from one end of the earth to the other, and there you will serve gods made of wood and stone, gods that neither you nor your ancestors had ever worshipped before." Look at the slave routes. Here's another verse, verse 48. "Therefore thou shalt serve thy enemies which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he destroy thee." Verse 43 and 44. "The foreigners who reside among you will rise above you higher and higher, but you will sink lower and lower. They will lend to you, but you will not lend to them. They will be the head, but you will be the tail." Verse 46. "All these curses are going to come on you. They're going to hunt you down and get you until there's nothing left of you because you didn't obediently listen to the voice of God, your God, and diligently keep his commandments and guidelines that I commanded you. The curses will serve as signposts, warnings to your children ever after." Let's use our God-given mindset and understand what we just read. A sign is an identifying marker, correct? And if you lived in a town like, say, Reston, Virginia, for a while, you would know that Glade Drive has a stoplight at Reston Parkway. So according to these verses, anyone will be able to point to the people that fit these curses and say, those are the people of the Bible. This is my last point. Deuteronomy 28 verses 10 to 15. It reads, "All of you are standing today in the presence of the Lord your God, your leaders and chief men, your elders and officials, and all the other men of Israel, together with your children and your wives and the foreigners living in your camps who chop your wood and carry your water. You are standing here in order to enter into a covenant with the Lord your God, a covenant the Lord is making with you this day and sealing with an oath, to confirm you this day as his people, that he may be your God as he promised you and as he swore to your fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I am making this covenant with its oath, not only with you, who are standing here with us today in the presence of the Lord our God, but also with those who are not here today. So not only did these people agree to the covenant, they agreed for the children born in the future. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. My goal is to follow up with another video answering and explaining more. Please comment and let me know what your thoughts are. This video is not intended to be a platform for hate or discrimination. It is simply to inform and shed some light. Thank you.